The struggle Evan sat on the broken chair in his small dark room. The walls were cracked, the ceiling leaked when it rained, and the light above his head blinked like a dying star. Outside, the city groaned with smoke and iron. The world once belonged to humans, but now it was ruled by aliens who walked the streets like kings. On the table lay a rent notice. The letters were red and cruel. It shouted that he had 3 days to pay or leave. Evan stared at it until his eyes hurt. He had no money, his job was gone, machines had taken it. The aliens said machines were faster, cleaner, better. Humans like him were left behind. He rubbed his face with tired hands. His body was weak from hunger. His heart was heavier than stone. He thought of running away, but there was nowhere to run. He thought of begging, but who would care? In this city, no one cared. Then came the knock, a soft, slow knock on the door. His head snapped up, his heart raced. He never had visitors, not even neighbors. Silence ruled his life, but now there was someone. He stood and walked to the door. Every step felt heavy. He opened it. And there she stood, a woman tall, with dark hair and calm eyes. Her clothes were neat. Too neat for this broken place, she smiled. Not like a stranger. Not like a friend, but something in between. You look tired, she said. Her voice was soft, but carried a strange weight. May I come in? Evan hesitated. He had nothing to give, no reason to trust. Yet something in her eyes made him step aside. She entered, moving slowly, like she already knew the room. Who are you? Evan asked. His voice was rough. My name is Lyra, she answered. I came to help you. Evan laughed, a bitter, short laugh. Help me? I have no food, no job, no money. I cannot even pay my rent. What help can you bring? Lyra smiled again. This time her smile was calm, almost strange. I will fold your laundry, she said. Evan blinked. He thought he heard wrong. What? Laundry? Yes, she said. I will fold your laundry. He looked at the small pile of wrinkled clothes in the corner. Old shirts, worn pants, cloth that smelled of days without washing. He shook his head. That is a joke. Folding laundry will not save me. But Lyra did not laugh. She walked to the corner, lifted a shirt, and began folding it. Her hands moved with a quiet grace, slow and perfect, each fold sharp. Each crease clean. Evan watched, his breath caught. The air in the room felt strange, heavy, as if time itself was waiting. She placed the folded shirt on the table. Evan touched it. His fingers trembled. The cloth felt warm, not from her hands, but from something unseen. He looked at her. Who are you, really? Lyra's eyes grew serious. I am not from here, she whispered. I am not human. But I admire humans. Fear crawled through Evan's chest. He wanted to run, but his legs were frozen. His eyes could not leave hers. Why me? He asked, his voice cracked. Lyra folded another shirt, her hand steady. Because you are human. Humans are special, but you have forgotten. You live in fear, you suffer in silence. Yet you still care for small things, small acts. That is what makes you strong, Evan shook his head. I am not strong, I cannot even pay rent. Lyra leaned closer. Her whisper brushed the air. Strength is not rent, not money. It is holding on when everything is lost. That is why I am here. Silence filled the room. Evan's heart pounded. The city outside seemed to fade away. Listen carefully, Lyra said. The rulers of this city are planning something dark. Soon they will strike at the poor, at the weak. They will erase you. Evan's breath shook. Why tell me this? Lyra placed the last folded shirt on the table. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dim light. Because even in your broken life, you are human. And that is enough to fight. Evan stared at her. His chest was tight with fear and hope. Could a man with nothing stand against alien rulers? Lyra smiled, but this time her smile carried power. I will fold your laundry, and then I will show you why humans are feared in the stars. The night outside grew darker. The walls of his room felt alive with tension. Evan did not know if this was the end or the beginning. But deep inside, a spark lit in him. A spark of something old, a spark of being human. The offer. The night was quiet. The only sound came from the weak hum of broken street lamps outside. Evan sat on his chair again. His hands rested on the table. His eyes locked on the folded shirts. They looked simple. But something about them was not simple at all. Lyra stood near the corner, calm. Her eyes never left him. She looked like a shadow wrapped in light. Evan felt uneasy, confused, but also curious. You say you came to help, Evan said. His voice carried doubt. But folding laundry? How does that help? Lyra tilted her head. Her dark hair moved gently as if a soft wind touched it. Laundry is only the beginning, she whispered. The act itself means nothing to you, but it means everything to them. Them? Evan asked, his voice sharp. The rulers, Lyra said. The aliens who sit above you. They watch humans. They study humans. Yet there are things they cannot understand. Folding laundry is one of those things, Evan blinked. That is crazy, is it? Lyra stepped closer, her eyes glowed faintly. Think, Evan. Aliens can build towers that touch the sky. They can bend steel and fire, they can control minds, but they cannot fold laundry with care. They cannot see meaning in such a small act. And that makes them fear it. Evan laughed nervously. You expect me to believe aliens are scared of folded shirts? Lyra did not laugh. She leaned closer. Her whisper brushed his ear. Not the shirts, Evan, the heart behind them. The patience, the order and chaos, the human will to care for what is broken. Aliens cannot copy this, it drives them mad. Evan sat back. His throat dry, he wanted to deny her words. But something inside told him it was not a lie. The way she spoke, the weight of her voice, it felt real. Lyra folded another piece of cloth, her hands slow, steady. Her eyes did not leave the fabric. I did not come only to fold. I came to offer you a choice. Evan's chest tightened. A choice? Yes, Lyra said, placing the folded cloth neatly on the table. You can stay as you are, afraid, hungry, forgotten, waiting for them to erase you, or you can stand. You can remember what makes you human. You can fight, not with guns, not with machines, but with the one thing they cannot understand. Evan shook his head. Me? Fight them? I am no soldier, I am nothing. Lyra's smile returned, but now it was sharper, almost sad. That is why you are perfect, Evan. Soldiers fight with weapons, leaders fight with power, but you will fight with what they fear most, the spirit of being human. Silence filled the room. The city outside groaned with distant engines. Somewhere, alien patrols moved through the streets. Evan felt the weight of her words pressing on him. What happens if I say no? He asked, his voice shaking. Lyra folded the last cloth, stacked it carefully and looked at him. Her eyes glowed brighter now. Then you will vanish like dust in the wind. You will be forgotten, and humanity will lose one more spark. Evan's fingers touched the folded pile again. Warmth spread through him. It was not only warmth. It was calm. It was strange. He felt stronger, even if only for a breath. Lyra watched him, her voice softer now. You are not alone, Evan. Many humans are waking up. But someone must take the first step. Someone must show the city that small acts can break chains. Evan swallowed hard. His heart beat louder than the silence. He wanted to scream, to run, but his body stayed still. At last he whispered, and if I say yes? Lyra's smile grew, slow and knowing. Then I will teach you. I will show you the path. And when the time comes, you will not fold only your clothes, you will fold the fate of your people. The light above them flickered once. Then twice outside, the sound of alien patrols grew louder. Closer, the night seemed to hold its breath. Evan looked at her, and in her calm eyes, he saw both danger and hope. The choice was before him. A simple choice that was not simple at all. And in that moment, for the first time in his broken life, Evan felt he stood at the edge of something vast, something that could either save humanity or destroy it. The secret. The city outside was restless. Machines hummed, engines growled, and shadows of alien patrols stretched across the cracked streets. Inside the room, Evan sat still, his eyes fixed on Lyra. She had spoken of fear, of choice, of something greater, but now, Evan wanted the truth. Tell me, he whispered. What are you really? What do you want from me? Lyra's smile faded. Her hands rested on the neat pile of folded clothes. For a long moment she was silent. Her eyes looked distant, as if she was remembering something far away. Finally she said, I am not from this world. I came across the stars. I came because of humans. Evan's chest tightened, his breath grew short. He had always heard whispers about aliens beyond the rulers, but never had he seen one, and now one stood in his room, calm and quiet, folding laundry. You are one of them, he said, his voice full of fear. No, Lyra replied firmly. I am not one of the rulers, I am their enemy. I come from a people who were broken by them. We fought and we lost, they crushed our armies. They burned our cities, but we learned one thing, Evan. We learned why they fear you, fear me. Evan asked, shaking his head. I have nothing. I cannot fight them. I cannot even feed myself. Lyra leaned closer, her eyes glowing faintly like hidden fire. That is the secret, Evan. It is not about strength, not about weapons. It is about being human. They cannot understand you. That is why they fear you. Evan frowned, his hands gripped the edge of the table. I don't understand. Lyra picked up another shirt. She folded it slowly, carefully, each crease sharp, every movement precise. She placed it down and said, To them, life is power, control, domination. They see no value in kindness, in patience, in small acts. Folding laundry is madness to them. Cooking for someone is weakness. Holding hope is insanity. They cannot see why humans care for such things. But these things give you strength. Evan stared at the folded shirt. His fingers touched the fabric. He felt that strange warmth again. But how can this matter? How can folding cloth make them afraid? Lyra's voice lowered, steady and heavy. Because it is order born from chaos. You take something broken, something useless, and you make it neat, you make it whole. Humans do this not only with cloth, but with each other. You heal wounds. You forgive mistakes, you rebuild what is lost. They cannot do this, Evan. They destroy, but they cannot rebuild. Her words echoed in the small room. Evan's mind raced. The secret was not about power, but about spirit. Humans were different, and that difference was dangerous to the rulers. They have tried to erase you for centuries, Lyra said. They hide your history. They steal your work. They make you feel weak. But the truth cannot be erased. It is inside every act of care, every moment of patience, every spark of hope. Evan's throat grew tight. He thought of his mother folding clothes long ago. He thought of neighbors sharing bread. He thought of children laughing even when hungry. Small things, fragile things, but strong in ways he never understood until now. Lyra touched the folded pile gently. This is why I came, Evan. My people could not stand against them. But you can, not with weapons, but with what you are. The rulers will strike soon, and when they do, you must be ready to remind your people what it means to be human. Evan's chest rose and fell fast. Fear tangled with something new. A spark of belief, he whispered. You think I can do this? Lyra's eyes softened. I know you can. The rulers see you as nothing, that is why they will fail. Because they never understood the secret. The smallest flame can burn down the darkest empire. Outside, heavy footsteps echoed. Alien voices carried through the streets. The patrols were close, the night air felt colder. Evan clenched his fists. His heart still doubted, but deep inside, he felt the weight of her words. He was poor, broken, and forgotten. Yet maybe, just maybe, he was also something more. Lyra stood tall, her voice steady as iron. Remember this, Evan. Humanity's greatest weapon is not hate, not fear, but the will to care. That is the secret. And it is a secret worth fighting for. The room fell into silence. The folded shirts lay like a quiet army on the table. Evan stared at them, and for the first time in his life, he saw not weakness but power. The warning, the city outside groaned like a sick giant. Heavy machines rolled through the streets. Their lights cut the night. Their sound made windows shake. Evan sat by the table, staring at the pile of folded clothes. His mind raced with Lyra's words. The secret she carried burned in his chest. Lyra stood near the door. Her calm eyes searched the shadows. She was silent for a long moment, then she turned to him. Her voice was low, steady, and cold. They are moving sooner than I thought. Evan, the rulers are preparing something. And when it begins, humans like you will vanish. Evan's hands tightened around the chair. Fear crawled through him. What do you mean, vanish? Lyra stepped closer, her face hard. They call it a cleansing. They believe weak humans are useless. They believe your suffering is a disease. They will come for the poor first. The ones who live in broken rooms like this, they want to erase you before you rise. Evan felt his stomach twist. His breath came faster. He had always known the rulers were cruel. But hearing it in her voice was different. It was not rumor, it was truth. They have done it before, Lyra continued, her eyes dark with memory. On other worlds, in other cities. They sweep through at night, their machines destroy homes, their soldiers take lives without thought. By morning, only silence remains, and the world forgets those who were lost. Evan shivered, his chest grew tight, he wanted to deny it. But deep inside, he knew she was right. The rulers never saw humans as equals, only as tools, disposable and weak. Why tell me this? Evan asked, his voice shaking. What can I do? I am only one man, I am nothing. Lyra's gaze burned into him. Because one spark can light a fire. Evan, you are not nothing, you are human. That is what they cannot destroy. If you believe you are nothing, then they have already won. But if you believe in what makes you human, then you will rise. And others will follow. Evan's hands trembled. He thought of his neighbors, thin and tired. He thought of children playing with broken toys in the street. He thought of the old woman across the hall who always gave him a smile even when she had no food. These people could be gone, erased, forgotten. Lyra stepped closer. Her voice sharpened like a blade. You must choose. Will you sit and wait for them to erase you? Or will you stand and carry the spark of humanity? Evan's heart pounded, his mouth was dry. He wanted to scream, but only whispers came. I don't know how. Lyra touched the folded shirts. Her fingers traced the fabric as if it was sacred. You will learn, you will remember. Humanity has always survived by holding to small things. A song in the dark, a hand reaching for another. A simple act of care, these are your weapons. And when the rulers strike, you will use them. They will not understand, and that is how they will fall. Evan stared at the pile. The folded shirts looked like nothing, yet they now felt heavier than stone. He felt the strange warmth spread again through his chest. It gave him courage, thin but real. Lyra's eyes softened for a moment. Do not think you are alone. Evan, others like you are waiting, hiding, hoping. But hope needs a spark. Be that spark, or there will be only silence left outside. The street filled with alien light. Blue beams cut across the buildings. A patrol passed, their voices harsh and metallic. Evan and Lyra froze, listening. The sound of boots shook the floor. The danger was close, Evan whispered. They are already here. Lyra nodded. Her face calm but hard. Yes, they are hunting. But remember my words, Evan, when the night is darkest. Even a single flame can blind them. The patrol moved on. Their lights faded, the silence returned, but the warning stayed heavy in the air. Evan sat back, his chest rising and falling fast. He did not feel ready, he did not feel brave, but he knew one truth. He could not ignore the warning. Lyra looked at him, her voice softer now. The storm is coming, Evan, and when it breaks, you must decide who you are, a man waiting for the end, or a human who will fight with what they fear most. The folded clothes lay on the table. Silent and strange, Evan stared at them, and for the first time he thought maybe they were not only clothes. Maybe they were a shield, maybe even a weapon. And in the silence of the night, Evan felt the weight of his choice pressing on him, pressing like the whole city on his shoulders. The night grew colder. The weak light above flickered, and Evan sat still, his hands shaking as if the truth itself had made his body tremble. Lyra's warning still echoed in his mind. The rulers would strike, they would erase the weak. He could not stop thinking about it. Lyra moved closer to him, her steps slow and deliberate. Her eyes glowed faintly. She looked at the folded pile of clothes, then back at him. Evan, she said softly. Now it is time for a test. Evan frowned. A test? What kind of test? She picked up one of the folded shirts, held it gently, and placed it back on the table. The rulers think humans are weak, but what they fear most is hidden in the simplest acts. Folding laundry is not about cloth, it is about patience, care, and the will to create order where there is none. I want to see if you still carry that strength. Evan stared at the clothes, his throat dry. You want me to fold? Lyra nodded, her eyes sharp. Yes, fold them, but do not fold with your hands only. Fold with your heart. Fold as if every crease is a promise, a defiance against those who call you nothing. Evan felt foolish. His mind screamed that this was madness. Folding clothes could not save anyone, but her voice, her calm strength, made him believe there was something more. He picked up a wrinkled shirt, his hands trembled, the fabric felt thin. Almost lifeless, he looked at Lyra. What if I fail? She smiled faintly. Then you will learn. And learning is not failure, Evan. The only failure is to stop trying. Evan took a deep breath. He laid the shirt on the table. His fingers moved clumsily at first. The fold was uneven. The corners did not match. He cursed under his breath. This is pointless, but Lyra touched his arm gently, her voice steady. Slow down, Evan. Do not rush. Patience is power. Try again. He unfolded the shirt and tried again. This time he pressed the fabric carefully. His hands steadier, he folded one side, then the other. His movement slow, deliberate. When he finished, it was better. Still not perfect, but better. Lyra's eyes softened. Good, do you feel it? Evan blinked. Feel what? The calm, she whispered. The order in a world of chaos, this small act is resistance. You are proving that even broken hands can create, even tired hearts can bring order. That is what they cannot stand. Evan looked at the folded shirt, and for the first time he felt something strange. A spark of pride. It was only cloth. Yet it felt like a victory. Lyra handed him another piece. Again, Evan folded, slower this time. His movement steadier, his breathing calmer. The wrinkles faded as he pressed the fabric. When he finished, the pile grew taller, and inside, his chest felt lighter. Lyra's smile returned. Do you see now, Evan? This is not about laundry. It is about control. Not their control over you, but your control over yourself. Every fold says you still decide, you still choose. You are still human. Evan touched the pile, his fingers trembling less. But how can this fight them? Lyra's eyes grew sharp. Because they cannot copy it. Evan, they cannot feel patience, they cannot create order from care. Their machines can crush mountains, but they cannot fold a shirt with love. And when you and others remember this, they will face something they cannot destroy. Evan swallowed. His mind opened wider. He saw the test was more than cloth. It was about proving humanity's heart was still alive. Lyra stepped back, her voice quiet but powerful. This is your test, Evan, and soon you will face a greater one. The rulers will strike. And you must stand, but first you must master yourself. If you cannot fold cloth with care, how will you fold the fate of your people? Outside, the sound of alien engines echoed again. The city trembled under their weight. Evan looked at the growing pile of folded clothes. His fear did not vanish, but for the first time it did not own him. Lyra's eyes locked on his. The test has begun, Evan, and the night is watching. The silence in the room grew heavy. The folded shirt seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. And Evan knew deep inside that his life would never again be small. The enemy moves. The night was restless beyond Evan's broken window. The city groaned under the weight of alien machines. Tall patrol towers moved like metal giants. Their glowing eyes scanned the streets. Their voices carried through the dark. Harsh and cold, Evan sat at the table staring at the pile of folded shirts. His hands still trembled, but not from fear alone. Something else had taken root inside him. A strange new strength. Lyra stood by the window, her figure calm against the flickering light. She did not blink as the alien patrols passed. She whispered, "They are moving faster than I expected. The rulers grow restless, they feel the spark of change, and they fear it." Evan's chest tightened. "Do they know about me?" Lyra turned, her eyes glowing faintly. "Not yet, but they can sense it. They hunt for anyone who does not break. They can smell hope like wolves smell fire." Evan felt a chill run through him. He had never thought hope could be dangerous. But now he understood. The rulers did not only fear weapons, they feared the human spirit, and hope was its sharpest blade. A sudden noise shattered the silence. A heavy thud echoed from the street below. Evan rushed to the window, his eyes widened. Alien soldiers in dark armor were dragging people from their homes. Families screamed, children cried. The patrol shoved them into transport cages. The sound of metal doors locking echoed through the night. Evan's fists clenched. "They are taking them," he whispered. His voice shook with anger. Lyra's face was calm, but her eyes burned. "This is the cleansing, Evan. The rulers begin with the weak. They strike at night so no one can resist. Soon the streets will be empty. Only machines will remain." Evan's chest ached. He thought of the old woman across the hall. He thought of children who played in the dust. He wanted to run out to stop the soldiers. But his legs froze. Fear and rage battled inside him. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice steady. "Not yet, Evan. If you go now, you will be crushed. You must learn to move when the moment is right. The rulers are powerful, but they are blind to what hides in the shadows." Evan turned to her, his eyes full of fire. "So we hide? We watch while they destroy us?" Lyra shook her head. "No, we prepare. And when the time comes, we strike with what they cannot fight. They do not see the power in patience. They do not see the weapon in care. That is why we will win." Outside, the alien patrol marched on. Their machines hummed with cruel rhythm. Every step shook the ground. Evan watched them disappear into the dark. His anger did not fade, but it hardened into something else. Lyra walked to the pile of folded clothes. She touched them gently. "These are more than cloth, Evan. They hide energy. They mask signals the patrols use to find humans. When you fold with care, the fabric holds your spirit. It becomes a shield. Even their machines cannot read it. Evan blinked, shocked. You mean these clothes can hide us? Lyra nodded. Yes, already the patrols passed, and they did not sense us. That is why folding is more than work. It is survival, and soon, it will be resistance. Evan stared at the pile. His breath heavy. For the first time he understood. His test was not only for him, it was for everyone. Lyra looked at him sharply. The enemy moves, Evan, but so must we. There are families hiding in the old tunnels. They need protection, they need shields. You must fold for them. You must give them what the rulers cannot see. Evan's chest pounded. His fear was real, but so was his resolve. He whispered, Then teach me faster. I cannot let them take more. Lyra smiled, a rare smile filled with pride. Good. The man who could not pay rent now speaks like a leader. This is why I chose you, Evan, because in you lives the spark they cannot kill. Outside, the night grew louder. Alien machines filled the streets. The enemy moved with power, but inside the small broken room, a different power was growing. A quiet human power, one that the rulers could never understand. The power of small things. The night dragged on. Evan could not sleep. He sat by the table, staring at the folded pile of shirts. The city outside shook with the sound of alien machines. Families were gone, homes stood empty. Fear spread like smoke, yet inside this broken room, a strange light was growing. Lyra stood quietly, her hands resting on the back of a chair. She did not move. Her glowing eyes watched Evan, waiting. At last she spoke, her voice soft but steady. Do you know why the rulers fear you, Evan? Not for your strength, not for your weapons, but for the small things. Evan turned his tired eyes to her. Small things? Like what, folding shirts? Lyra nodded slowly. Yes, folding shirts. Cooking food for someone else, sharing bread when you have almost none. Singing to a child in the dark. Holding someone's hand when they are afraid. These things are small, but they are power. Evan shook his head. How can that fight machines? How can that stop their weapons? Lyra stepped closer, her voice sharpened. Because their machines have no heart.
Evan, they can crush steel, but they cannot create love.
They cannot understand why you would waste time on kindness. To them, kindness is weakness, but to you, it is survival. It is strength. Evan leaned forward, his hands pressed on the table. He remembered his mother's tired smile when she mended his clothes. He remembered his father giving away bread to a hungry neighbor. He remembered laughter in the streets. Small and fragile, but stronger than fear. Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. Do you see? These small acts are not nothing. They are the thread of humanity. The rulers want to cut that thread, because they cannot weave it themselves. Evan's chest tightened. He looked at the pile of folded clothes. For the first time, they did not look weak. They looked like symbols, quiet but strong. Lyra touched one of the shirts. This cloth now carries your will. When you folded it, you gave it order, you gave it meaning. That meaning hides you from their machines, that meaning protects you. The rulers cannot sense it. They are blind to it. Because it is born from something they do not have, Evan whispered. What do they not have? Lyra looked at him with fire in her eyes. Care, they do not care, they only control. Humans are dangerous to them because you care. And when you care, you build, you heal. You protect, even in ruins, you find a way to love. That is your greatest weapon. Evan sat back. His heart pounded, his fear still lingered. But now it was mixed with something else, a strange pride. So, every small thing we do, every small act matters? Lyra smiled. Yes, Evan, and together, small things become unstoppable. One spark becomes a fire, one fold becomes a shield. One hand becomes an army. Outside, the patrols marched again. Their heavy steps shook the ground. But this time, Evan did not look away in fear. He stared at the dark streets with new eyes, he whispered. They will never understand us. Lyra's smile grew sharper. And that is why they will fall. Evan touched the folded pile. His fingers steady now. Then I will fold for others, for the children, for the families hiding in the tunnels. If small things can protect them, then I will not stop. Lyra's voice was calm but powerful. Good, Evan. You are learning. You are remembering humanity is more than survival. Humanity is creation, and when you remember that, no empire can stand against you. The silence in the room grew heavy but not hopeless. The folded shirts lay like silent guardians. Evan looked at them and saw not cloth but strength. Outside, the machines roared. The enemy moved, but inside, the power of small things burned brighter than fear. Evan's choice. The city was silent. But it was not peace, it was the silence of fear. Families hid in shadows, doors locked, lights off. The rulers' machines prowled the streets, their blue beams sweeping across windows like cold eyes. Evan sat at his table, his hands pressed against the pile of folded shirts. His heart pounded like a drum. Lyra stood across from him, her calm face lit faintly by the weak lamp. Her voice was quiet but sharp. "The time has come, Evan, you must choose. Will you stand with me or will you let them erase you?" Evan swallowed hard, his throat dry. His mind burned with doubt. He thought of his empty stomach, his broken room, his weakness. "I am no leader," he whispered. "I am no fighter. I am just a man who cannot pay rent." Lyra shook her head, her glowing eyes never leaving his. "That is why you are perfect, Evan. You are ordinary, and that is the strength of humanity. Ordinary people doing small things with courage. That is what they cannot crush." Evan looked down at his hands. They trembled, but not as much as before. He touched one of the shirts, its warmth still lingered. "If I choose yes," he said slowly, "what will I become?" Lyra stepped closer, her voice deepened. "You will become a spark, Evan, and sparks spread. You will fold not only for yourself, but for others. There are families hiding in the tunnels, children shivering in the dark. They need shields. They need hope. You can give it to them." Evan's chest tightened. He remembered the screams outside, the families dragged away, the cages filled with humans. His anger rose, burning with his fear. "And if I fail?" Lyra's smile was sad but strong. "Then you will fall as a human. Not as dust, but if you do nothing, you will vanish without meaning. And your people will lose another chance." The silence pressed down heavy. Evan closed his eyes. He saw faces, his mother folding clothes, the old woman in the hall smiling, children laughing in ruined streets. He saw himself weak and broken, but still alive, still human. When he opened his eyes, they burned with a new fire. His voice was firm. "I choose yes." Lyra's smile widened, sharp and proud. "Good, Evan, very good. From this moment, you are no longer only a man in a broken room. You are a guardian of your people." Evan stood slowly. His legs felt heavy but strong. "Tell me what to do." Lyra moved to the table. She placed her hand on the pile of clothes. "You will fold for them, for every hidden family, for every child. Each fold will carry your will. Each fold will shield them from the machines. This will be your first step." Evan nodded, his breath steady. "I will fold until my hands bleed." Lyra's eyes glowed brighter. "And when the time comes, you will lead them. The rulers will not understand, but they will feel it. A tide of small things, stronger than their greatest weapons." Outside, the ground shook with alien patrols. The night vibrated with their power, but inside the small room, a greater power was born. Evan stood tall, no longer the man crushed by debt and hunger, but a man who had chosen. Lyra whispered, her voice like iron. "Remember this moment, Evan. The moment you stopped being nothing. The moment you became human in full. The rulers cannot kill that, no matter how many machines they send." Evan looked at the window. The city was dark, but in his heart, a spark glowed. He would fold, he would fight. He would carry the weight of others. His choice was made, and there was no turning back. The silence of the room broke with a whisper of courage. Evan had chosen, and his choice would change everything. The final confrontation, the air was heavy with smoke. The city shook as alien patrols moved in greater numbers. Their machines rolled like thunder. Their beams scanned every corner. Evan stood at the broken window. His chest rose and fell, his hands steady on the pile of folded clothes. He had folded through the night, each shirt, each cloth, carrying not only order but his will. Lyra stood beside him, her eyes glowing brighter than ever. Her voice was calm. "They know, Evan. The rulers feel the spark you lit. They come now, not only for the weak, but for you." Evan's heart pounded, but he did not look away. "Then let them come," he whispered. "I am done hiding." From the street below, the ground cracked as a massive transport machine arrived. Its body was black steel, its eyes burning blue. Soldiers in dark armor poured out. Their voices echoed in harsh metallic tones. The whole building trembled under their boots. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. "This is the moment, Evan. The test of all tests, not of your strength, but of your spirit." The door of the room shook as fists pounded against it. A metallic voice roared, "Human inside, surrender, or be erased." Evan's blood ran cold, but his hands did not shake. He grabbed the folded pile and spread the shirts across the floor. each one placed carefully, forming a circle. The room filled with a faint warmth, a quiet glow. The door exploded inward. Soldiers stormed in. Their weapons glowed with fire. But the moment they stepped into the circle, their helmets flickered. Their eyes burned with confusion. They staggered. One dropped his weapon. Another screamed. Evan stood tall, his voice strong. "You cannot see us. You cannot break us," the soldiers fired. Beams of blue light cut through the air, but the folded shirts glowed brighter. The beams bent away. The room shook, but Evan stood firm. Lyra's smile sharpened. "Yes, Evan, they cannot touch what they cannot understand." The commander of the soldiers stepped forward, taller, stronger. His armor pulsed with power. He raised his weapon and aimed. "Human!" he growled. "You are nothing," Evan's fists clenched. His eyes blazed with fire. "No," he shouted, "I am human, and that is everything." He lifted one shirt, folded with care, and threw it into the air. It spun slowly, glowing like a small sun. The room filled with blinding light. The soldiers screamed, their armor cracked. Their weapons melted like wax. The commander staggered back, his voice breaking. "Impossible." Lyra's voice rang clear. "This is the power of small things. This is what you never understood." The light spread beyond the room. Pouring into the street, families hiding in the shadows lifted their heads. Children stopped crying. The air itself carried warmth. The alien machines froze. Their glowing eyes dimmed. The commander roared, trying to resist. But the glow wrapped around him, his armor shattered. His body collapsed to the floor with a heavy crash. Silence fell. Evan stood in the center of the circle, his breath heavy, his body weak, but his spirit unbroken. Lyra watched him with pride. "You did it, Evan. You turned the smallest act into the greatest weapon outside." Humans stepped into the open, their eyes wide with hope. For the first time in years, they saw the soldiers fall. They saw that the rulers were not invincible. They saw that one man, one ordinary man, had defied them. Evan looked at the people gathering. His voice carried through the night. "We are human, we will not vanish, we will stand. And they will fear us." The crowd erupted in cries. Some wept, some shouted. The sound rose higher than the machines, higher than fear. Lyra leaned close, whispering, "The war has begun, Evan. This was only the first battle." Evan nodded. His eyes burned with fire. He had faced them. He had stood, and now he was ready for what came next. The city was still broken, the night still dark. But the silence had changed. It was no longer fear. It was the silence before a storm carried by humanity. The human victory. The city lay in silence after the battle. Smoke rose from the streets, broken machines sparked and hissed, and the bodies of alien soldiers lay scattered like fallen statues. Evan stood in the middle of it all, his chest heaving, his body weak, yet his eyes burned with fire. He had faced them and survived, not with weapons, but with something far greater. Lyra stood at his side, her eyes glowing softly. Her voice was calm. "You see now, Evan, humans are feared across the stars, not for their machines, not for their strength, but for their spirit. The rulers thought you were nothing, and tonight, you proved them wrong." Around them, people began to gather. Families stepped out from the shadows. Children clung to their mothers. Old men leaned on sticks, their eyes were wide. Filled with both fear and wonder, they had seen something impossible. Soldiers of the rulers defeated by an ordinary man in a pile of folded clothes. One man stepped forward, his voice shaking. "Evan, you gave us hope," a woman whispered, tears in her eyes. "For the first time, I believe we can survive." Evan felt the weight of their stares. He was no longer just the man who could not pay his rent. He was no longer the forgotten shadow of the city. He was a symbol. He was proof that humans were not broken. He looked at the people and raised his voice. "We are human, we are not weak, we are not nothing. Tonight we showed them what they fear, and we will keep showing them until they are gone." The crowd erupted, their cries rose into the night. A wave of sound stronger than any machine. It was the sound of awakening. The sound of humans remembering who they were. Lyra's eyes shone with pride. She leaned close to Evan and whispered, "This is only the beginning. Evan, the rulers will return stronger, angrier. They will bring more machines, but now the city has seen. They will no longer hide in silence, they will rise with you." Evan nodded. His hands clenched into fists, his body still hurt, but his heart felt unbreakable. "Then let them come. We will fold, we will care, we will stand. They will never understand us, and that is why they will fall. The people began to gather the folded clothes, passing them among the families. Each piece glowed faintly, carrying the warmth of Evan's will. Mothers wrapped their children in them. Old men pressed them to their hearts. It was not just cloth anymore, it was a shield, a promise, a spark of resistance in the distance. The sky rumbled with alien thunder. More machines would come. Evan knew that the war was not over. It had only begun, but the city was no longer afraid. They had seen one man stand, and that was enough to make them believe. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice low but steady. Do you understand now, Evan?
Why I came to you?
Why I said folding laundry mattered. Because it was never about the cloth. It was about the heart that folds it. That heart can change the world. Evan turned to her, his face tired but proud. I understand. And I will never forget. The night stretched above them, dark and endless, but in that darkness sparks began to glow. Small fires lit in the eyes of every human there. Hope spread faster than fear, stronger than silence. Evan looked at the broken city and whispered, "This is our beginning." And as the wind carried his words through the ruined streets, the humans stood taller. The rulers still ruled the stars, but for the first time humanity had struck back. The war of small things had begun, and in that war humanity would rise.